Hi everyone, welcome back to part 2 of Way2Go's training for helping professionals. In part 1 we got an introduction to Way2Go, and we heard some presentations and answers to some questions about the Tompkins County Department of Social Services, transportation related programs, from Ithaca Car Share and their different plans, including the Easy Access Plan, and from Jonathan Madison of Way2Go, talked a bit about travel training, what that is, and what's happening with coordinating travel training across the county. In this part, we're going to take a look at a bunch of other information that is available that might be relevant to you or the folks that you work with. And we're going to take a look at the Transportfolio binder of information that Way2Go makes available. But before we go to that, I wanted to talk a little bit about 211. I assume most people have heard of 211 information and referral. Yes, they provide information and referral on a wide variety of topics, not only for Tompkins County, but they coordinate with adjoining counties, and can be accessed by dialing 211 or also on their website. And I wanted to mention them because we work closely with them, and they maintain a very full and up-to-date database on transportation services. So they're a great place, first place to call, particularly because they always have someone available on the phone, which is not always true with Way2Go. Often we're out in the community, we're not always by our phone, but 211 generally has someone available all the time to answer basic questions of what's available, what makes sense for who, and what is the way to access different transportation services and programs. If they run into a call that's a little bit more complicated or tricky, they might refer that to Way2Go or to the DSS mobility specialist, Cynthia Lapel, that we talked to, so that we can help think about that trip, and or they'll make other referrals to transportation services. But they are a great resource around transportation. So I am going to take a quick look at the Way2Go website. This is a page. It's part of the Cooperative Extension website, which is at ccetompkins.org. And let me make sure that this is showing for our viewers. There we go. Great. So ccetompkins.org is Cooperative Extension. There's all kinds of things at that website. In the community section is the Way2Go, the Way2Go pages, and it can also be reached simply at way2go.org. Down the left-hand menu, you'll see here one of the options is Transportfolio. So we'll go to that page, and here you have a picture of the Transportfolio binder, which is available for free for folks who could use a reference with all kinds of different information on transportation services. And also, there's a lot of information in the Transportfolio to help people think about what's going to work for them or what not. For example, on the Ithaca Car Share page, and we'll take a look at that, it has, it's Ithaca Car Share right for me. So you may not have all of the answers or all the time even to work with someone one-on-one, but the Transportfolio is designed so that you can either download the pages or take pages out of the binder and make copies and give them to people if that is helpful. So here they have, we have listed, you can have a copy on your desk or your computer, and here is basically all the pages of the Transportfolio. And then on the lower left is PDFs of most of the pamphlets that are in the Transportfolio. We're happy to provide you with pamphlets or brochures if they're useful to hand to people. We have much here, and you can take extras of if there are particular things that you think might be handy to have on hand. And we can also make those available, but if it's easier, you can use the PDF and print some copies for yourself. So here are those pages, and we will take a look at some of those pages. We'll start with the welcome page to the Transportfolio. This is right inside the front cover. I mentioned that you can remove pages and make copies if it's useful, and also download materials. Another thing about the Transportfolio, the last page of this front section is a very simple usage log. This is extremely helpful to us if you're using the Transportfolio, if you can just even keep a tally of times that you pull it out, and if there's specific information that people ask for that you give to folks, and if you are aware of any outcomes. And you can also keep track here of things that you run into, transportation challenges and that you don't find an answer to, or that doesn't seem to be something available. You jot this down here, and you can share this information with Way2Go at any time. We also try to keep a list of people, of everyone who's using a Transportfolio. By signing up for training, you're registered, or if we just drop Transportfolios off for folks, we try to keep a list so that we can check back with you and see how you're using it, see if you're using it, see what's useful, see what's not useful, so that we can use our own resources in the smartest way. Some things that we leave out if they're not very useful, and sometimes we've gotten feedback. For example, we need more information on how people can afford their cars, and then we add more of that information in. So from that, let's move on and take a look at the table of contents. The area I have, let me see if I can view this any larger. Oh, great. Awesome. So the table of contents, just pulling that to a view that will work the best. The areas that I have highlighted in gray are that front section, welcome letter, table of contents. We'll take a look at, we have a guide to finding information by constituency that can be useful if you're working with particular folks. We also provide a transportation directory and a list of medical transportation services that we'll take a look at, all in that front section. At the back of your Transportfolio is a pocket page, and that has a whole bunch of cards and pamphlets and brochures. This lists those. These are the same ones that are available on the website in that lower left-hand corner. And we might take a look at some of those if we have time. So let's move on to the next page. There's a guide to finding information in the Transportfolio. This can be useful whether you have it in hard copy or you're looking to see what pages might be useful to download. A lot of people are looking not necessarily at a particular mode, but they're looking at, well, I work with low-income folks, what is useful or what would be helpful, or I work with people with disabilities, or I work with folks who live in rural areas or who have long-distance commutes, what's helpful there. So that's what this is for. The first section, people with limited economic resources, points out which sections are useful. And this will, as we look through the Transportfolio, this will become a little bit more meaningful to you, what these sections are. For example, people with limited economic resources, the first section, tools and tips, has a lot of information for folks on how to save money, how to drive a car for less. Particularly in the section on cars that we'll get to later, on the car page, there's information on free phone access. For, it's not specifically transportation program, but it's a program that can be accessed via the website, via their website, and can help people get free phone access, which can help with transportation along with a bunch of other things. And when we'll look at that page, and I'll show you right where that is. Rides by request is a later section, the Transportfolio, and that has some volunteer ride services for medical trips and trips to school meetings. And then the pocket page. Again, we'll be going over some of this information specifically, but I wanted to show you this page that can help you know where to look. We have, for people with disabilities or mobility impairments and older adults, including V-Ride is a van pooling service, and for example, they can make a wheelchair accessible van available. If there's a group of commuters that sign up to use van pooling with V-Ride, it's possible to get a wheelchair accessible van for that. For rural residents or commuters, these are resources that are particularly useful for folks who are commuting a farther distance. That includes the page in the bus section on regional buses and trains, and we'll take a quick view of that. Van pooling, which we will cover, and there's a Way2Go puts together also a list of transportation resources by a rural area. And lastly, some sections that are particularly useful for parents, including on the cars page, we have the Sheriff's Car Seat Program and some resources on child safety restraints, and then some other materials that can be useful for parents. Moving on to the transportation list, I'm going to try to look at this a little bit larger. That's pretty good. I'll go back and show you that front page. This view makes it a little bit easier up on the screen for folks to see all the information at once, although it makes the formatting a little bit weird. So this is a page in the front of your Transportfolio, or that's available online, that is a list of a general list of transportation resources and their contact information. Medical transportation we have on a separate list. It has significant overlap, but I'll show you that in a minute. That's helpful specifically for medical trips. Here we list transportation support services together. So we have Cynthia Clapel, who we heard from in part 1, is listed here with her phone number. There's a free auto repair ministry. Someone actually asked during the break about auto repair assistance. Both DSS and Catholic Charities at times have some assistance programs around car repair, whether it's car repair grant assistance or car repair low interest or no interest loan. And they don't always have those resources. They tend to come and go, or they get some and they give them out until the funds are gone. So it's good to check with DSS and with Catholic Charities if people are looking for car repair assistance. And then here highlighted is there's also an auto repair ministry that in the county. I don't yet have any reviews of this that are positive or negative, so I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I have talked with them, and they offer free labor for folks who need help getting their car repaired. They do need to cover, the car owners do need to cover the cost of parts, but they will donate their labor. So that's something to try. Also under support services is Way2Go's driver retirement education program, and there's a pamphlet on that in your pocket page. The Finger Lakes Independence Center is listed here. They work with people with disabilities and their friends, family, and allies. That can include information on getting around for people with disabilities. They also have an equipment loan closet. This is particularly helpful for people who might have temporary or new disability to see what's available or try something out before making a purchase. There are a number of volunteer ride services listed here. The American Cancer Society Road to Recovery sometimes provides transportation when they can for cancer patients. We'll see that also on the medical transportation resource list. Also for healthcare related trips, there is FISH. How many of you here have heard of FISH already? Not too many. FISH stands for Friends in Service Helping. It's a small volunteer driver network that provides rides to people who don't have another way of getting to a medical or healthcare related appointment. They use a fairly broad sense of what's a medical or healthcare related trip. So, you know, if you know someone and they think it's a healthcare related trip, then I would give it a try. Another nice thing about FISH is that they don't have a complicated eligibility criteria or application process. So the intent is that they give rides to folks who don't have other transportation options, but there's not a complicated way. We'll talk a little bit about ADA paratransit, which does have an application process. With FISH, they're just basically trying to steer people their way who don't have other transportation for those trips. There's also a small volunteer driver network that helps provide rides for students' families or students themselves to school-related meetings. And that is called RED, or Retired Educators Drive. And that can be accessed by email or by calling. With all these volunteer ride services, the sooner the better. The more in advance people can call and make a request, the more likely it is that their request will be met. We also have more rides by reservation. The taxi services are listed here. And just one note about taxi services: if you have more than one person or group of people that are leaving and arriving, making the same trip, then they can save money by splitting that fare. It's not exactly the same cost as splitting a single fare, but it's a lot less. So I always encourage folks to see if they can find other folks that are taking the same trip. There's some other ride services listed here. Ithaca Car Share and Zimride Tompkins. Those are listed here. We're going to take a look at Zimride Tompkins, how that works, and we'll take a look at V-Ride van pooling. The buses are listed here, including the neighboring county bus services. They don't always have the TCAT website is an excellent place to look, especially if you know the bus route that you're interested in or that someone's interested in. It's very easy to check schedules on there. Some of the neighboring bus services, it's a little bit, also have information online, but sometimes it's a little bit tricky to figure that out, and so their phone numbers are listed here. That's another way to get information. And then regional buses, the contact for RIBS is here, is one way to help people get access to bicycles or bicycle repair or maintenance. And Also, the Friends Bike Clinic is another volunteer bicycle clinic that can be found online. Let's take a look at the medical transportation resource list. That is, this covers some of the same material, but it has some information in more depth. As you can see, the little sign of a person using a wheelchair on here indicates what services are wheelchair accessible, and we specifically have information here for veterans, as well as a variety of other information. I am realizing this was recently updated, but even more recently, Ithaca in Tompkins County has acquired our first wheelchair accessible taxi. This is a great boon to our community. It's been in the works for many years. The wheelchair accessible taxi, it is listed on the taxi information sheet in that section of rides by request in the Transportfolio. It's operated by Ithaca Dispatch. So that Ithaca Dispatch number is on the transportation list, as well as that section of the Transportfolio. And it's a very cute, boxy red car, and it is now in operation. The number here also for Medicaid transportation assistance that was mentioned earlier is on the medical transportation list, so that's a great number to call to find out if you're working with somebody that might qualify for Medicaid transportation assistance and general Medicaid information. So that is the first section of the Transportfolio. We're going to take a look at some of the other sections, and we're going to move somewhat quickly through some of these sections. I'm just going to show you what's here, and you can take a look later depending on what is most useful to you or folks that you work with. But then we'll take a little bit more time on some services like ZinRide Tompkins and VRide that you might not be familiar with how to use. The next section, called Tools and Tips, has a lot of information in it for folks who are on a limited budget and who are trying to afford their transportation. This first page, Compare Dollars, gives that information on the cost of a car. Cars is a massive expense, and some people find that if they actually can find housing, some people find that they can afford better housing if they can also make that location work without owning their own vehicle. Generally, if people have a way of getting back and forth to work, then sometimes they're able to make that place work without a car. It depends on their situation and exactly where it is, and we've gone over some of the other transportation systems that can sort of supplement their main form of getting around, but that frees up a lot of cash. In fact, I'm going to take a look. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's on this page as well. So as Anna mentioned, the average cost of a car is often $20 to $30 a day. That's an average. I've actually interviewed folks and gone over their car costs to see. I wasn't sure whether that was really realistic. but it actually, I have found low income, medium income, higher income people all to end up often in the $7,000 to $9,000 a year range for their total cost of car. If you have a low cost car and it's fuel efficient and doesn't need a lot of repairs and you don't drive a whole lot, then you can definitely go under that, but not many people meet all those requirements. If a person can manage to avoid purchasing their own car, that frees up a huge amount of money to purchase other kinds of transportation services. And for example, one person can buy unlimited bus pass, commute by van pooling if they can find a van pool near them, can use Ithaca car share for a couple hours a week, rent a car for a week's vacation, take a taxi, spend $30 a month on a taxi, spend a few $100s on a bicycle or walking shoes, and still all of that costs less than half the cost of a car. So you can just, if people are considering that, you can buy a lot of other bus, taxi, car share, bicycle, van pooling, ride sharing for that, for less than owning, for a lot less, thousands of dollars less than owning a car. Also in this section is a calculate your car cost sheet. A number of people have used this with people that they work with, or for yourselves to actually add up all the costs of owning a car. It can help people that are contemplating where to put their resources. And then this section also has information on saving money on your car when you're buying, saving money on your car in the way that you drive, and a few other ways to save money on your car by skipping trips and sharing rides. We'll talk a little bit more about ride sharing. In your pocket page or available in the pamphlet section online is a pamphlet on ways to save money in your car insurance and some consumer tips on buying new or used cars. So let me know if you have any questions on that section. And in the meantime, we are going to move on to the next section, is bus, bike, and walk. I'm going to show you this section, and I think we'll pause for a minute and see if we can get the videos loaded. We did manage to have a DVD of our new videos dropped off, so we'll see if we can load those in a minute. This has a page on biking and walking, which has contact information for RIBS, some other services that support bicycling and walking. This has an information on TCAT. This could be helpful for folks who are new to the bus, and hopefully we'll get to show you our bus basics video. This section also has regional buses and trains. This is handy to just get in touch with bus services that are in neighboring counties. Has a couple in the lower left-hand corner, has an information note on Fish. Fish only provides rides within Tompkins County. The same is generally true of Gadabout, but they do have they do leave the county in a limited way under certain circumstances. We'll talk a little bit about Gadabout and ADA paratransit. later. And then Ithaca car share cars can be driven anywhere in the United States and Canada, I believe. Of course, those miles add up. So, in fact, while I'm on Ithaca car share, let me just mention that Ithaca car share is extremely helpful. Their staff is extremely helpful to help people think about whether car share is a good match for them and when to use car share, when to use other forms of transportation. They're not on a mission to have everyone use car share for everything, no matter what. They really want to help people figure out, is car share going to make sense for them, and how to manage it and how to use it. There are times, if you're a car share member, that it can make sense to use a taxi instead. If you're going to be somewhere all day, you don't want to pay for the car by the hour, or you can ride the bus or share a ride. They're really great at helping people figure out what's the most economical and best way to make use of car share, if that makes sense for folks. We also have a list of the park and ride lots here. So I'm going to take a minute to pause the recording and see if we can get some of our how-to videos loaded up. All right, I'm going to share my desktop with you all again and see if I can show you Way2Go video. Well, Here we go. See if I can turn the volume up. So this is our bus basics video. Great. Let's see. So we also have, Way2Go also has videos on bus basics for wheelchair users, and that covers using the TCAT bus and also Gadabout, and sometimes they can be used in combination. And we also have one on, here I can show these again, bus basics for wheelchair users, and we have using the bus bicycle rack. We also have one on ride sharing, why and how to share more rides, and one on using Ithaca Car Share. So let's see. We will hopefully come back to that. Let's the next section of your Transportfolio is cars and other wheels. That has an information sheet on car share, which I mentioned has, is Ithaca car sharing right for me, and is it really affordable? Those can be helpful when people are considering what makes sense. And then this section has a lot of information about cars, which may or may not be useful to folks that you're working with, but it's handy for folks who are new to owning a car or people from other countries. There's information, basic information on a car, and then on the this cars, the essential sheet in the lower left-hand corner is what I mentioned before about the phone service called SafeLink Lifeline service in the lower left-hand corner. And if you go to safelinkwireless.com, people can apply there for free, a free phone and free minutes. That can be helpful in a variety of ways. There's information on buying, leasing, insuring, and repairing your car, and there's also an information on renting cars. Lastly is a page on other wheels. This is helpful if people are thinking about alternatives to a traditional car. That can be motorcycles or mopeds, travel scooters, or mobility scooters. And so there's some information here. And again, the Finger Lakes Independent Center is another useful organization to help folks think about mobility-related scooters. So I'm going to see if I can pull another video up so that we can watch the car share. We had Anna here in part one, but it's very helpful to actually see the car share video. I'm trying to locate it actually. Here we go. Great. I will be showing you one more video. That's the one on ride sharing, and because it gives a good, quick but good picture of how to use Zenride Tompkins. But before we do that, we're going to take a look at one other section in the Transportfolio, which is rides by request. And that has the first page in that is has a page on Gadabout, and we'll take a look. Let's see. Let's talk about TCAT and Gadabout and ADA paratransit for a minute, since we didn't cover that earlier. How many of you are familiar with Gadabout or ADA paratransit? Not too much. Let's go to the TCAT website. Which is here. So this is the TCAT website. As I mentioned, here it's very useful if you know what bus route you're taking. It's a great place to check the bus schedules. If you really have no idea which route you should be taking, or even if there is a bus, if a person doesn't know whether there's a way to take the bus to where they want to go, the thing that I suggest would be to call the TCAT office. The front desk is very helpful and very knowledgeable, and that's the best place to start if you're just not sure whether you can take the bus or what bus to take. here along the top menu, they have ADA here, and this there's a lot of information here about Gadabout and about ADA paratransit. Gadabout is a service that provides rides, fairly inexpensive rides by request to seniors and people with disabilities. Requests need to be made at least a day in advance, if not more. And sometimes there's some, it's not quite like a taxi, they group rides, and some, or they're scheduling a bunch of rides, and so sometimes there's some wait. It's a good idea for people to get their requests in early. Gadabout also operates the ADA paratransit service for TCAT. ADA paratransit is service that is provided for people who are unable to use the regular bus routes or regular buses because of a disability. And it's part of a legal requirement to provide equivalent service if people are unable to use the bus by because of a disability. And in order to become to use Gadabout for ADA paratransit rides, people have to apply for ADA certification, and they can do that through TCAT here under the ADA. They have Apply for ADA, and there's a downloadable application, and TCAT also has an ADA specialist who can also help people fill out the application. I talked with her the other day, and one thing that she mentioned I should emphasize is when people are filling out an ADA application, it doesn't mean people can qualify for ADA even if they can use the bus sometimes under certain circumstances. It doesn't necessarily mean someone who can't use the bus at all. But when they fill it out, for example, some people who are using a wheelchair or some other mobility device can use the bus in the summer or when the weather is mild, but they're unable to really access the bus during the winter, when it's very cold or when it's snowing. Or people who have some kind of lung condition sometimes can't use it because of certain weather. Or it could be someone that can use the bus. They can access the bus. They can use, as mentioned in the video, all the buses are equipped with a wheelchair ramp or lift, but they can't get to the bus stop because of a geographical barrier. So they could use the bus, but they can't get to the right stop. So all of those may be eligible for ADA services. When somebody applies and has ADA certification, then they qualify to use Gadabout, which provides services at roughly the same times in the same areas that TCAT provides. And in some cases, they can get service at other times or in areas beyond that sort of 3/4 of a mile distance from the bus route under a program called New Freedom. As is always the case, Gadabout has some discretion of when they can provide New Freedom rides or not. But these are it's a very good thing for someone to check out if they're not always able to use the bus because of a disability. The TCAT website has information on Gadabout versus ADA paratransit. Where do they overlap and how are they different? Because they're both provided by Gadabout. They have a Gadabout service questions and answers, and there's also a Gadabout FAQ sheet in your pocket page of the Transportfolio or available as a download from the website. And they have a ADA paratransit information guide for more information on how that works. So any questions about the TCAT, Gadabout, and paratransit and how that works? So let's look at, in the second to last section of the Transportfolio, the rides by request, the first page is on Gadabout, and as I've shown, there's a lot of other ways, lots of places to look for information on Gadabout. There's another page on taxis and other rides by request. I want to draw your attention to this page because it has information on some of the things that we've talked about. It has the taxi, the contact information for the different taxi companies and some tips on using a taxi around cost. And in the upper right-hand corner is the information on the wheelchair accessible taxi that's now available. And again, that's accessed through Ithaca Dispatch, and their number is there. Then there's also other rides by request here. This has the contact information for Fish and for Red, as well as the Gadabout contact information, and also rides to the airport. That some of the airport limo services, which are on your transportation list, which one is here, can also be useful, can sometimes be used to get to medical appointments in those areas. So we're going to look at the last section, which is ride sharing and van pooling. And I'm going to show you one more video on ride sharing, and we'll take a look at, before we wrap up, we'll take a look at Zimride Tompkins, which is a local ride sharing website, and V-Ride van pooling.
People share rides all the time, and there are lots of good reasons to share more rides more often. Here are some of those reasons and tips on making ride sharing easy and fun. Save money by sharing the cost of gas and other travel expenses. Splitting costs with just one other person is like paying half price for your gas. The more people you share with, the more you save. While riding with others makes it hard to have one last longer to a repair. The whole community saves, and ride sharing becomes less traffic and less wear and tear on the road. Some people share rides simply by taking their driving. Being a passenger means you get where you need to go while having more time to get ready, work, sleep, or just relax. If you're a parent, setting up carpooling with other parents and caregivers you trust is knowing your kids will get to where they need to go. Meanwhile, you get more precious time for yourself. Ride sharing saves more than just time and money. It uses less fossil fuel and contributes less to both local air pollution and to global warming. Ride sharing is a great way to get to know your neighbors better and to help those around the one. Get to know your neighbors and make connections with coworkers and others who are traveling your way. Look for new opportunities to share rides and who knows who you might meet. There are many ways to find people with whom to share rides. A great place to start is to simply ask a neighbor or coworker if they want to carpool to share a ride. You can newsletter, bulletin board, or email them to look for other people interested in sharing rides. Or try using Zimride Tompkins, a local online community for sharing rides. All you need is an email address and it's free. Click on the Tompkins County Community Portal to let your
Okay, before we wrap up, I just want to give you a little look at, here's vride.com. There's an information sheet on van pooling in the last section of the Transportfolio, and there's also a vride brochure in your pocket page. And there are a couple of van pools running in Tompkins County, and it's something to consider for folks that commute a longer distance. They can always get in touch with Way2Go for tips on, in order for van pooling to work, there has to be a group of at least 5 folks who are going to commute together. The van pool, vride provides a van, and that van lives at the home of the main driver. It can even sometimes be used a little bit outside the van pool. Can be used by that person for a little bit of personal transportation. The main driver, and then there's backup drivers, can pick up people, you know, in a fairly broad area, especially if they're commuting a longer distance. So this is an important thing to think about if folks are commuting a distance, and Way2Go can help you or help them think about how to get in touch with other people who might be interested in van pooling. And then this is the Zimride Tompkins website. The video showed getting into the community login. You can just search rides that are going to Ithaca. Zimride can be used for commuting, and many people are using it, have used it to find people to share rides to work with. It can be also used for one-time trips. People need to go to New York or Syracuse. Sometimes they can find a trip here. And you can, all you need is an email, as mentioned in the video, and then you can post a ride as a driver or a rider. And again, it can be a regular commute or it can be a one-time trip. So let's see. So again, this is a little bit of more information on ride sharing, vride.com. And again, in terms of being a helping professional, if we can help you help other folks figure out how to get around, we're very happy to do that. We gather information. If you have either suggestions like, if only the bus did this, or if only this was available, people could get where they need to go, we like to gather that information, and sometimes we can make that happen and work with transportation planners. And again, we're available at way2go.org, where you can also download Transportfolio materials or just call us for what you need at Cooperative Extension at 272-2292.